Hey guys, in this particular lesson what we're going to talk about is focusing on the energy that's involved in cellular metabolism and metabolic processes. So we should know that metabolism is going to depend on chemical energy, and that really shouldn't be a very big surprise to us because we should all be very familiar with the idea of ATP being the main energy for your bodies. So it's important for us to define exactly what we mean by energy. And energy is really just the ability to do work or the capacity to change something. Examples of energy: heat, light, sound, electrical energy, chemical energy, mechanical energy, etc. Um, and I just want to emphasize the fact that these are not matter. They are not composed of atoms or anything of the sort. Um, so we should also indicate the idea that energy is conserved, law of conservation of energy, that it can't be created nor destroyed. It's only changed from one form to another, just like matter is. Um, and what I mean by that is kind of a good example is the idea that electrical energy is what moves through the wiring in your house, and it's converted into heat and light when it passes into the light bulb. Or chemical energy that's contained in gasoline. When it enters into the engine of a car, it's converted into heat and mechanical energy to make the car move. Similar conversions of energy are what are going to take place in your body when metabolic reactions occur. So, like I said, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is the energy in the cell. We also should indicate that ATP is nucleic acid, and we should know that. But it's only one nucleotide standing alone. It's not a chain of nucleotides, which is what we're typically used to with nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. But in this case, it's one nucleotide that stands alone, and that one nucleotide still contains a base, and that base is adenine. It still contains a sugar. That sugar is ribose, and it has 3 phosphates. So, just like the picture shows, we have an adenine, which is a 2-ringed nitrogenous base, or a purine. Ribose, our 5-carbon sugar, and then we have 1, 2, 3 phosphates, which gives us that name triphosphate. The energy in ATP is really stored right there. Right? It's a high energy bond that exists between the 2nd and 3rd phosphate in an ATP molecule. So when that bond is broken, the energy gets transferred to other molecules, and the ATP will become ADP, but it releases all of that energy to be used. And then the ADP can actually be recharged. So what I typically tell you guys is that ATP is the charged version, and ADP is the uncharged version. But it's like a rechargeable battery, right? When that bond is broken and that extra phosphate leaves, ADP, the uncharged version, is what's left. But that ADP can be recharged by adding another phosphate in, and it'll turn back into the charged ATP molecule. We all know that metabolism, like I said, depends on that chemical energy, the ATP that we need. But it's just important to point out that ATP is not the actual energy. ATP is actually where the energy is stored. Remember, a couple slides ago I talked about the fact that energy is not actually matter. It's not actually molecules combined together. Well, if we go back and we look at our ATP molecule is blatantly nitrogens, carbons, hydrogens, oxygens, right? All these atoms bonded together, which means ATP is an atomic molecule, which means it is matter. energy is not matter, which means that ATP is just the molecule where the energy is stored. And like I said, that storage is in that third high energy phosphate bond. Cellular respiration is a specific process where that chemical energy in food gets transferred from the stored food molecules into the ATP molecules. And it's done so in a process, an oxidation reaction. An oxidation reaction really just means that we are combines a molecule with oxygen. That's all we're really saying, is that in that particular reaction. So cellular respiration, at least the aerobic type, is an oxidation reaction where we are combining those molecules with oxygen. And any energy that doesn't actually get transferred into the ATP, it's okay. It's not 100% efficient cellular respiration. But that little bit of energy that isn't transferred into ATP that's lost, it's lost as heat. And that heat plays a role in contributing to maintain body temperature. So it's not actually lost, it's just kind of moved into a different area that the body requires that energy for. So it's lost as heat, but it's beneficial to the body. And cellular respiration, which we're going to cover a bit more in our future lessons, like I said, is how we release the energy from food molecules and we make it available for the cells to utilize. And there are three reactions that are involved: glycolysis, the citric acid cycle, and the electron transport chain. You guys in the past have learned the citric acid cycle being referred to as Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain, another word for that, is oxidative phosphorylation. We'll talk a bit more about that later. And this is just a picture showing us cellular respiration, the glycolysis process, the Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain, which we'll talk a bit more about in the next lesson. This pretty much wraps it up, guys, for our brief introduction to energy for metabolic reactions. If you have any questions, please feel free to see me.